Welcome to the channel, everybody. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone today. I'm going to talk about three different brushes. We've got the Arroworthy Classic, we've got the Paint Warrior brush, and we've got the Arroworthy Rembrandt. Three different brushes. In loose terms, I'm going to say same manufacturer, but clearly three different brushes. I'll come on to those in a moment. Main reason for this video, I did this room yesterday and I used this MacPherson's, and it's the durable acrylic matte paint. I wasn't planning on doing a video on this paint, but I've got to say this MacPherson's, it's a trade paint. It's get my words out, durable acrylic matte paint, and it's hard wearing, it's stain and moisture resistant. Now, I did this room yesterday. I have to say how impressed I was. I thought I've got to come back with my camera and just do a little bit of a recap on what I actually thought the paint was like. Because do you know what? I'm going to say a bit blown away by it. 2.5 litres cost about 26 quid, and this is from Paintwell in Nottingham. Again, my friend Tim, thumbs up. Tim down at Paintwell. We just wanted a durable matte paint, and I said I'm willing to try something a bit different. And he said, have you tried the MacPherson's? And I said to him, in years gone by, and I'm going to say in days of old when member bowled and toilets hadn't been invented, I have used MacPherson's before, and probably one of the last things that I've probably used is Eclipse, but that was back in the day before AR2s and things like that. So I've actually not used a durable acrylic matte from MacPherson's up until today. And I'm going to say to you, I know it's a deepish colour. You can see behind me. I know it's a deepish colour, but I've got to say, do we need to spend a fortune on paint when this is a good drop of paint? Now, you can get a 5 litre canister for under 40 quid. The opacity of this, which is a dark colour, it's actually covered really nicely. We were going over a bit of a county cream colour. It was quite a dirty cream colour because this room's not been done for 13 years. We gutted this house when the owner first had it, literally from top to bottom. We stripped everything off that was here. An old couple had it. They died, and clearly it was then sold through the family. So the customer bought this. We went through it top to bottom. We've got, if you remember back in the day, armadillo stroke wall rock on the ceilings. Walls were lined. They've got lath and plaster. Anything that needed doing was done. New skirting boards, new architraves, doors were burnt off. We have literally gutted it. So 13 years on, we're coming back to refresh this room, and we've gone for this durable matte from MacPherson's, and I've got to say I am very impressed with it. It's one of these paints, it's dry within a couple of hours. Recoat time is 4 hours, and the actual durability for it being at optimum curing is at 7 days. Always read the back of the can. It is water-based, and do you know what? My roller and brushes all washed out very well. So I'm going to say to you, if you're looking for a cost-effective paint to use without breaking a budget, and we don't try and work on budgets, but this is a really good paint that is probably overlooked by a lot of people because they think it's cheap and cheerful. Do you know what? It's not. It's a really nice paint. The finish, I'm not going to bring the camera over, I'm going to tell you what it's like. The finish, there's a very slight sheen to it, a very slight sheen, but that is probably a characteristic of the durability of this. It still feels a flat matte finish, so it doesn't feel like you've got a glossier surface like some paints seem to have that feel to it that isn't a matte finish. It has that matte finish, but you can just look across it and just see that durability that is there. So I'm going to say to you, give this a go. It is a very nice bit of paint. Right, so killing two birds with one stone. I spoke about that, really good paint, give it a try. But while I was here, I thought I've got the opportunity to try three different brushes out. I've got 3 lots of walls to paint, and I thought, let's just give it a go. Now, let's start with the Paint Warrior brush. If you don't know about the Paint Warrior, Google Kev Paint Warrior. He's got a, oh, this is probably the wrong thing to say, he's got a cracking backstory. That's probably the wrong way of putting it. He's got a story to tell, let's just say that. But he's got some brushes that he's developed himself, and these are manufactured I'm going to say manufactured through Arroworthy. They are not an Arroworthy brush, other than that they are sold really alongside Arroworthy brushes. Can I say that? I'm not sure if I can. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But let's just touch on this. Let's just touch on this Paint Warrior brush. It's professionally handcrafted. It's the Nilium. Can you see that? The Nilium bristle, and it's for latex and oil-based paints. Latex paints, if you don't understand, water-based. Right, let's just get it out. You can always read the back of the packet if you want. But can you see the bristle there? So if we're just having a look at the Paint Warrior brush, can you see the colour of the filament there? So it's actually a blend. Kev, who designed it, it's a bit of a blend of a multitude of different bristle to get the consistency of a brush that he actually liked. Now, I've used this on one wall, I've used a Rembrandt on another wall, and I've used my standard Arroworthy Classic on another. So I've gave 3 brushes a run for their money on one room. Now, what do I think? Right, let's just drop onto the Rembrandt. Same sorts of bristles, they're the Nilium. These are all 2-inch semi-oval slash cut, every single one of them. Right, the Rembrandt's classed as a medium blend. You can see that on the packet, medium blend. But for me, that is quite a firm bristle. It's quite a firm one, and the bristles are yellow. Right, my other one, which would be my, I will say, I don't want to say go-to brush. It would be the brush that I would use for woodwork and the odd bit of cutting in. This is the Arroworthy Classic. Slightly different, can you see that? Slightly different colour on the bristle, but this feels very soft. So I'm going to put them in order from left to right for you or me. Right, for you, left to right. This is where I pitch these brushes on stiffness or thickness of the bristle quality. This is a soft brush. This is a more medium, and this is a firmer bristle. So bristles very soft, bit in between, and a firm one. Can you see that? Now I'm going to say I use that, and actually after using this, I don't know why I bother using that one. This one for cutting in around the top of the wall there, that yellow bristle, being that firmer, I had a lot more control over that. When I went to the wall that was using that, I would say I don't want to use that anymore for cutting in around coving, cutting in sealing edges when I'm emulsioning. I'm going to keep these Arroworthy Classics for woodwork paint. So I'm going to go, that's out the window. That, keep for your woodwork paint. Now we come to these for cutting in emulsion. The Arroworthy Rembrandt, that to me would be too coarse and stiff for using it for woodwork paint. You would literally keep this for emulsions. Correct me if I'm wrong. All these brushes are going to be subjective to people that they like what they like. I'm trying to explain to you what I found using these 3 brushes. That was brilliant for cutting in with the emulsion. Went around the top, it was ideal. Went on to the Paint Warrior brush. This is a proper brush in between that one that I've just thrown out the window, the Arroworthy Classic and the Rembrandt. Took a little bit of getting used to, but once I got into it, I can see the appeal. It was pitching halfway between that softness and the stiffness of that Rembrandt. So the softness of the Arroworthy Classic, the stiffness of the Rembrandt, and then you've got the Paint Warrior brush in between. It is literally an in-between brush of the 3. And I'm going to pick it back up if I can find it. These are brushes you've got to try. If you've only tried that one, give that a go. If you've tried that and you've not tried that, give that a go. Because I'm going to say to you, this is a very nice brush. I picked this up at Crown of Nottingham on Lady Bay. Zoe's the manageress down there. I picked up that because nobody sent me any brushes to try, particularly Paint Warrior or even Arroworthy. I thought I would give these a go off my own back. Now that I can see the appeal, people like it. I don't know what it's like for using on woodwork. I will try that later. But for me today, i.e. from yesterday, using this paint, cutting in, I found that preferable over that or that. So not saying I don't like them, I'm just saying for cutting in with emulsion, that was the brush that I felt more control with. They all loaded up fine, they've all got good paint release, and bristle wise they all washed out well. And particularly using this paint, which I think is really good. It's also one of those paints that washes out well. It didn't leave anything in the bristle. It made for a nice clean brush. No issues with that whatsoever. And another thing I'm going to say to you, you probably put that down. You've probably seen on TikTok, you've probably seen on Reels, and there's people that are, I'll say promoting, they are endorsing, that's probably not the right word either. They're probably telling you to stick 10%, 5% water to all their emulsion paints to make it easier to apply. Do you know what? This paint, I tried it before I started doing any major cutting in and rolling. And do you know what? This paint didn't need any thinning. Straight out the tin, this paint was good to go. Particularly over the previously painted surface that I'd had before, which I've got a feeling back 13, 14 years ago, we would be probably using Crown Clean Extreme. So the walls have got a durable finish on, and this going over the top did not need any thinning. It didn't leave it ropey. It hasn't left it orange peely on the actual roller finish, and cutting in around the top, there's no fatty edges. So on that note, don't put water to your paint until you've tried it. If you need a paint conditioner in it, obviously weigh up the situation, but also look at the surfaces that you're going over. If you've got a dry porous surface, that first coat will need to be thinned. But when you've got stuff that's already painted and it goes on nicely, you don't need to add any water. So don't thin a whole tin down before you've tried it. If you do need to thin anything down, thin the paint that you're using at the time. So if you've got a paint tub of paint on the go, thin that. Don't thin the whole tin. So on that note, I've killed two birds with one stone. This is a really good paint. Out of the three brushes for emulsioning today, or stroke yesterday when I was here, the Rembrandt for me won hands down over the other two. Not saying that these aren't any good. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is for cutting in with emulsion paint, the Rembrandt just had the edge, having that firmer, stiffer bristle to cut in neatly. But you can still do good cutting in with these two brushes. So on that note, I'm going to say please watch the videos at the end. I'm Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. Thanks for joining me, thanks for the support, and I will see you very soon.